The $1.9 trillion stimulus also includes $8.5 billion specifically directed to rural hospitals. And while the federal government is still creating the plan to distribute those funds, it's money that is much needed because many of Oklahoma's rural hospitals are struggling to survive. But not all of them. Alisa Hines reports from the small town of Fairfax in Osage County.
What was her blood sugar yesterday?
84. Nurses, x-rays, even a CT scanner. All things you find in a hospital. And still do at Rural Wellness Fairfax. But a year ago, even that was iffy. Dr. James Graham has been a physician here for 42 years and says he's excited about what's happening here in Fairfax.
The best way to describe it is we had a miracle here happen in 2020. And we've gone from a hospital that absolutely was just on the verge of closing and almost closed to a hospital today that's just thriving.
The situation was so dire that staff, who went 3 months without pay, volunteered to purchase supplies and food for patients.
We met together, we had prayer, and then at that time we decided we were going to keep the door open.
Enter Dr. Elizabeth Pusey.
I really liked her story of transformation, and I'd seen that myself in my own practice. So I thought this was something I wanted to get involved in. And so I was looking to buy a hospital in Fairfax. In terms of why it was Fairfax, the board at Fairfax is a very Christian community, and a lot of my volunteer work is also Christian based. And really, I don't know why it ended up being Fairfax. And I get there and they go, well, we prayed. We had our prayer vigil and we were praying for somebody to come in. I'm going, okay, well, now I know why I'm here.
So Dr. Pusey and the management company First Physicians Capital Group purchased the hospital for $2.1 million in 2020 and began updating it because, according to the group's CEO, Jeff Hill, rural hospitals are very important.
It's important because hospitals in rural America are struggling right now. They're struggling because they're seeing their costs escalate. They're an important economic engine for small communities, oftentimes the largest employer in the community.
Since 2005, 9 rural hospitals in Oklahoma have closed. 17 more are identified as at risk of closure, and 35 are medium to high risk of being in financial distress. According to Forbes magazine, that puts Oklahoma in the top 8 states with the highest levels of closures. And Fairfax Mayor Charles Cartwright says it's definitely a matter of survival for the community.
Not only does it provide emergency medical care for the immediate urgent care of that person, it also provides an economic base for the community, which in a community this size spreads a long ways out. We reach a lot of communities that are smaller than we are.
With rural health care making up 25% of healthcare in America, Dr. Graham says this hospital is setting precedents.
Telemedicine has helped us a great deal, and we've been fortunate for that. And that way we always have backup to the various specialists. When there's no physicians around, nurse practitioners are making rounds or PAs, then they can always get on the telemedicine for help.
Utilizing some CARES Act funding, along with investments, the hospital can now provide many services to the community and surrounding towns.
The types of care that we can give that are a little higher level than perhaps other small places in their communities. So they're coming to Fairfax to get dialysis or this other types of care that we're now able to provide for them. And with them, that also helps revitalize the town because you have families coming in, people need gas, people want to eat. I think that the whole thing just benefits more than just the hospital and the patients, but also benefits the community.
So Rural Wellness Fairfax is going from old to new again and showing how a rural hospital can thrive. Alisa Hines, the Oklahoma News Report.
Alisa, thank you for that. How successful has the turnaround been? Well, at this time last year, almost every bed was empty. Now, Rural Wellness Fairfax is operating at full capacity.